Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. So hello everyone and welcome to our fifth talk, our penultimate talk in the 2025 Vasa series. Today, I thought I would talk a little bit about different kinds of supporting karma that people can make to develop their meditation, you can say behind the scenes. Because a lot of people spend a lot of effort to develop their meditation, especially their sitting meditation. And so they're trying to develop samadhi. And for whatever reason, they're not able to continue that. So typically, somebody might, in some cases, there may be some disaster, but sometimes it's just you switch your job, or perhaps you have a child, or you move homes, or your aging parents move in with you, something like this. So all of these things can reduce the amount of time we have to dedicate to the meditation. So these are some things that we can do to support the meditation during those times. Okay, so in this kind of situation, you can feel some people feel that their meditation, they feel frustrated and they're not happy. They think, I'm not able to do anything. So the Mangala Sutta has a systematic instruction and it starts right from the beginning, starting with this not associating with fools, but associating with the wise. And it goes all the way to attaining complete liberation from suffering. So today we're going to look at a couple of stanzas from this sutta, but we're not just going to look at Mangala Sutta. We're going to look at some other places in the Tipitaka that give some advice in this regard. One of the stories that the Buddha mentions about this, related to this verse in Pali, asevana chabalanang anditanang sevana, is Akitti Jātaka. Akitti Jātaka is story number 480 in the Jātaka collection. So I've summarized, it's a bit of a long story, so I've summarized it. In that lifetime, the Bodhisattva was born in Varanasi, and at that time his family was quite wealthy. So when it came time for his education, they decided to send him to Taxila. So Taxila is a city in northeastern, modern day we would consider it northeastern Pakistan. In those days, it was a great center of learning, and in a bit later times, it was part of the Silk Road. So in that life, his name was Akitti. And so Akitti stayed in Takshila for a number of years because, of course, at that time you couldn't easily travel. You don't have a map, but if you sometime take a look where Varanasi is and where Takshila is, quite a distance. So he would have stayed there during his entire studies, only coming back when he's returned to live in his hometown. So when he turned 16, he graduated and he did return to his hometown. At that time, shortly after that, both of his parents passed away. He had one sister to split the inheritance with, and they arranged all of the funeral arrangements. And they also had some discussion with each other about the period of mourning and everything. So they completed the period of mourning, and then it came time to divide the wealth according to the parents' will and testament. At that time, Akitti felt a sense of disgust sweep over him. He felt none of this, like the owners of all this wealth, they passed away. They don't have any more chance to enjoy this wealth. If I take it on, I'll be the same. When it comes time to die, I have to give it up. Somebody else will have to enjoy this. And he was so upset by this thought, he decided to go forth as a monk, or I guess we can just say an ascetic, because it wouldn't be a monk in the sense of an order. He would just go forth to meditate in the forest alone. So he told his sister, you can have everything. When his sister heard this, she said she was a bit surprised, but she felt the same way. She didn't want all this wealth either. She felt the same way. It's not worth it to live this kind of a life as a wealthy merchant in Varanasi. And so she went with her brother, decided to go with her brother and become a nun practicing in the forest. So they started to give away all of their wealth. After some time, they sort of got tired of that and they just abandoned it. They just left it for anyone to take, and they went off to practice meditation. But at that time, they were quite well known and people were following them. They were quite renowned. They had to go to the extreme south of India, and they went to practice on an island in between Sri Lanka and India and practice there alone in a place where no one else was living. As a result of that, Actually, it doesn't mention the sister after this, so we'll just talk about Akitti. So as a result of that, he had to live on boiled leaves from a certain kind of tree that grew on the island. So he would prepare those leaves every day and live off that and continue his meditation. At that time, King Saka, king of the Tavatimsa realm, the heaven of the 33, he felt his throne starting to heat up. So, of course, according to the ancient stories, when King Saka's throne starts to heat up, there should be some kind of extraordinary incident. So Saka used his psychic powers and surveyed the world. Why is my throne heating up? What he found was it was the power of Akitti's, a meditation practice, his ascetic practice that was leading to this result. He did what Saka always does in these stories. He decided to descend from the Tavatimsa to the human realm in disguise. And in disguise, as he was disguised as a Brahmin beggar, he came to Akitti's hut. And when Akitti saw him, Akitti was very happy because this is his chance to develop his quality of generosity, to do some kind of a dana, which is very rare for someone like him practicing alone on an island. So the only thing he had to offer were his boiled leaves. And that is exactly what he did. He offered the leaves to the Brahmin. But what was unusual was not that he offered the leaves, but he could have easily prepared more leaves, of course, because the island is full of trees. But he immediately set to his meditation. He didn't prepare more leaves. And so he went without food for that day. So the second day and the third day, Saka came in disguise. He went for alms as a Brahmin beggar. All 3 days, the same thing happened. And Saka was a little bewildered. He couldn't figure out what was going on. And so he decided, it's better I just ask Akitti, why are you doing this? Akitti said, so he went and he had a discussion with Akitti, and the discussion is recorded in verse. I didn't quote all the verses. I'll quote some of the verses later. So the first thing, Saka asked Akitti, why are you practicing like this? And Akitti explains, birth, aging, and death, living in the samsara, living with kilesas, all of this is suffering. So because of that, I am practicing this sort of lifestyle. Well, King Saka was very impressed by this, and he offered to give him a wish. So he offered to give him a wish, and he said to him, so Akitti made his first wish. And so his first wish, he gave a list of things. He said, family and wealth and property. I wish to be free of greed and attachment for all these things. So Saka knew he didn't have the power to grant this kind of wish. So he asked him to make another wish. So Akitti said, yes, okay, well, all things in the world, all material things, they're subject to age and decay. So I would like to be free from such age and decay. So again, Saka says, okay, how about another wish? He gives him another wish. And so his wish is to only associate with the wise and not to associate with fools. And so Saka is becoming more and more impressed. He gives him another wish. And the wish is, the request from Akitti is that he would have the chance to do dana to virtuous ascetics, people keeping sila and practicing their meditation. Finally, Saka gives him one more wish. And the final wish is that Saka will go away and not come back. So Saka is shocked by this. He says, normally people invite me to come. Everybody likes to see King Saka, but here you don't want to see me. So what he said was that, I came here to practice for the sake of release from all suffering, but if you keep coming here and I see what sort of the beauty of the Deva realm, maybe I'll become distracted from my goal, and maybe that will lead me away from this practice. So he asked Saka to leave and not come back. And so that's what Saka did. And Akitti continued his practice until the end of his life and was reborn in Brahma Loka. So I've summarized the story a little bit, even though it's not that short, and also the verses. So to select the verses that have been cited. So this story, to go back to the start, this story was cited in the Mangala Sutta commentary as an example of not associating with fools and associating with the wise. And so in that commentary, these verses are cited, and the translation here is by Bhikkhu Bodhi. The same verses can be found in the actual Jataka. May I never see or listen to a fool, and may I not dwell with a fool. May I not converse with a fool, and may I not approve of one. What has the fool done to you? State the reason, Kassapa. And Kassapa is the clan name for Akitti. For what reason, Kassapa, do you not wish to see a fool? The deluded fellow leads one to ruin. He enjoins one in reckless ways. He is hard to guide the good. Spoken to rightly, he gets upset. He does not know discipline. It is good not to see such a one. As if taking hold of a blazing coal, by their own wrong understanding, they destroy themselves and those who follow their advice. May I see and listen to a wise person, and may I dwell together with the wise. May I converse with a wise one, and may I approve of him. What has the wise one done to you? State the reason, Kassapa. What is the reason, Kassapa, that you wish to see a wise person? The wise person follows what is right. He does not enjoin one in reckless ways. He is easy to guide to the good. Spoken to rightly, he is not upset. He understands discipline. It is good to encounter him. So the implication is that this behavior is, in a sense, contagious, good or bad behavior. And so by associating with a fool or a wise person, will tend to, our behavior will tend to fall in line with their behavior. There's a sutta in the Majjhima Nikaya, Balapandita Sutta, Sutta 129, and it outlines three disadvantages that somebody who with bad behavior will experience in this very life. Now, we're translating this word bala as fool. It's not really a strong enough word, I think, in modern English. Maybe when they originally translated the sutta 120 years ago, it was strong enough. But you can see from the context of the sutta, something like crook or libertine would be more appropriate for this word. So I've summarized the first two of the disadvantages, and the third one I'll quote from Ajahn Sujato's translation here. So in the first disadvantage is that when this kind of a person hears others talking about bad behavior, criticizing bad behavior, then they'll feel ashamed. They'll realize that all of the kinds of things that they're criticizing, that's exactly the way I'm behaving. And so they'll feel this kind of shame. And so sometimes, like in the modern day, also, you can see that these kinds of discussions go on in social media, and if somebody's behavior comes out, they might be forced to like make a public apology. We see this a lot these days. People, they're forced to make public apologies on social media and things like that. So all of this kind of sense of shame can happen from these sorts of incidents. So the second disadvantage is fear. Second disadvantage is fear. So somebody who is misbehaving, then when they see somebody else who's done exactly the same thing and they're being punished, and in the sutta, it gives some examples from ancient India. For example, I won't give the examples, but there are all kinds of cruel and unusual punishments that it lists that the kings would do to criminals. It's a standard list, and the commentary explains them in great detail. So when somebody sees all of this, they'll feel a sense of fear. Oh, this could happen to me. Again, you can see this happening online. Some people have we can sort of reflect on some people who've lost their jobs or have suffered like a lot of humiliation because of something that they've done and it's become public. So the third disadvantage is regret, and regret that follows one like a shadow. And so I will quote from Ajahn Sujato's translation of the sutta. Furthermore, when a fool is resting on a chair or a bed or on the ground, their past bad deeds, misconduct of body, speech, and mind, settle down upon them, rest down upon them, and lay down upon them. It is like the shadow of a great mountain peak in the evening, as it settles down, rests down, and lays down upon the earth. In the same way, when a fool is resting on a chair, or a bed, or on the ground, their past bad deeds, misconduct of body, speech, and mind, settle down upon them, rest down upon them, and lay down upon them. Then that fool thinks, Alas, I haven't done good and skillful things that keep me safe, and I have done bad things, violence and sin. When I depart, I'll go to the place where people who've done such things go. They sorrow and wail and lament, beating their breasts and falling into confusion. This is the third kind of suffering and sadness.
that a fool experiences in this very life. Again, we have in Mangala Sutta the two sides of the coin, not associating with fools and associating with the wise. So there are some suttas in the Anguttara Nikaya, a pair of suttas, and then each of them enumerates seven qualities of a person. If a person has seven qualities, one should associate with them. And so since the suttas are short, I'll quote them here. English translation, Ajahn Sujato. The first one is Anguttara Nikaya. It's in the sevens, and it's sutta number 36. Mendicants, you should associate with a friend who has seven factors. What seven? They give what is hard to give. They do what is hard to do. They endure what is hard to endure. They reveal their secrets to you. They keep your secrets. They don't abandon you in times of trouble. They don't look down on you in times of loss. You should associate with a friend who has these seven factors. And the second sutta is immediately following that one. It's sutta number 37 in the group of the sevens in the Anguttara Nikaya. Again, translation by Ajahn Sujato. Mendicants, when a friend has seven qualities, you should associate with, accompany, and attend them, even if they send you away. What seven? They're likable, agreeable, respected, and admired. They admonish you, and they accept admonishment. They speak on deep matters, and they don't urge you to do bad things. When a friend possesses these seven qualities, you should associate with, accompany, and attend them, even if they send you away. I'll start that again here. So we're talking about different sorts of things that we can do to support our meditation. And the Mangala Sutta has mentioned, of course, this first verse and a second verse right at the start of the Mangala Sutta, that is living in a suitable location. So we have some advice also from the suttas about how to find a suitable location. So there are actually more suttas than you might expect that deal with this issue. The commentary mentions that it should be a place where the Buddhist teachings are flourishing. It specifically mentions the fourfold assembly, so the monks, nuns, male and female lay Buddhists. At present day, that might not be that easy. Of course, we have to choose a location based on where we have a passport, where we can get a job, etc. But we can change our microenvironment. So just maybe we can't change the whole society around us, but we can make some changes in like our local community to sort of help with that, to help with our Dhamma practice, but also to help with the Dhamma practice of those around us. So for monastics, so we have a situation here where for the monks, it's not quite parallel with lay people because the monks have to consider, or the nuns, they have to consider about how to get food, especially in ancient India, going on alms round, and where lay people wouldn't have to consider that. But there are other factors that are more similar. So for example, the monks and nuns, they have to consider like the distance from the village. Even today, you can see the most monasteries, they're within maybe like a 10-minute walk, a 20-minute walk of the nearest village, even though often there'll be people coming in from the larger cities to bring meals. But if you're too close to a large urban center, then people will come and disturb the meditation. So it's important to balance those things. But for lay people, of course, you have a different calculus. So it's important to have a job, but also to have a suitable place to live. Typically, people will have to make some tough decisions there. For those of you living in North America, you know about sort of the long commuting times. I think not every country is like that, but in North America, it's quite frequent. People will commute maybe 3 hours a day from the suburbs to their place of work in the city center. But by doing this, they lose a certain amount of time in driving, but they gain a more peaceful environment at home, a cleaner air, maybe a larger property, and also sometimes you have better opportunity, better facilities at the school for the children. So we're also advised for the monks, especially, we're supposed to try to find a place that is near to our meditation teacher. And so we're supposed to have at least 5 years training under a teacher. Typically, that either means going to Asia or essentially staying in one place for 5 years, which is what most of us do. I went to Nauyana Monastery in Sri Lanka. So for lay people, it might not be reasonable to live right near to a meditation teacher. But you still have lots of teachings available online, of course. And if you can live in a place that's near to other Buddhists who are practicing meditation, keeping sila, You can discuss Dhamma with them time for time. You can still consider that a suitable place to live, like in the sense of supporting your Dhamma practice. So to get benefit, whatever place we choose to live, the Buddha mentions that to get some kind of benefit from that place, we have to have certain qualities in ourselves. And so there's a sutta in the Anguttara Nikaya that lists 5 qualities. I think I didn't quote the sutta, but I have 5 qualities here. So the first quality is faith. So if we want to get some benefit from our Dhamma practice, we have to have suitable faith in the practice. Good health. It especially mentions digestion, which is kind of interesting. If we don't have good health wherever we're living, we won't be able to practice meditation and get proper results. Honesty and openness. So here it's especially talking about openness and honesty with the meditation teacher or our spiritual friends. Enthusiasm for developing the path. So we have to have effort. And finally, wisdom. We have to use our wisdom to develop the path in the most effective way. This is just a couple of verses from the start of Mangala Sutta. We only sort of touched on some of the topics involved, so there are all kinds of teachings related to different things we can do to deepen our meditation practice or to create the foundation for deepening our meditation practice, but when maybe we don't have the time to spend in formal meditation. So I hope that these reflections and then these selections from the suttas will be helpful to your Dhamma practice. So you may be happy, healthy, peaceful, and content, and swiftly attain the peace of Nibbana. Idang me punyang
Idame punyam
asavakaya
asawakaya
rahang hotu.
vaham hotu.
Idang me punyang
Idame punyam
nibbanasu
nibbanasa
pachayo hotu.
pachayo hotu.
Mama punya bhagang
Mama punya bhagam
sambasatanang
sambasatanam
bhajami
bhajemi
te sambe
te sabe
me samang
me samam
punya bhagang
punya bhagam
labantu.
labantu.
Sadhu,
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 sadhu.
sadhu.